cactus corns. I wanted to invite you into my snake room and show you what I'm up to. Today what I want to do is show you the new racks we've assembled, show you how we assembled them, and then just talk a little bit about what I think of them. So like every snake breeder out there, I started with one snake, then that was 2 snakes, and then suddenly I'm now up 50 plus, and I have collected various types of racks. I have vision racks, freedom breeder, homemade, just all kinds. And here recently I decided what I wanted to do was to go ahead and just have one kind, just to standardize. And so I picked, after doing a lot of research, Reptile Basics VE series. Right now I'm putting in VE-6s. I hope to get some of the bigger ones for my larger corn snakes in the next go around. But today what I want to do is show you the assembly of those, and then just real quickly tell you what I think of them so far. I've worked with them for a week now. It's not very long, I know. Alright, well, let me go ahead and get you started. You can see how we put it together and what it looked like when we finished. So this is kind of a more detailed, if you've never put a rack together, or if you've never put the heat tape on a vivarium electronics rack before, you might find this helpful. If you put racks together before, you may not need it, but it is a little more detailed for those that have never done a rack, and especially now that Reptile Basics is no longer shipping these assembled. If you really need a step-by-step walkthrough, I think we'll be able to help you. Now here are the boxes for the sides and the back. And then here are the boxes for all of the shelves. And you can also see they came with instructions, the heat tape, a bag of screws, and the pins to keep them from sliding out forwards. So as you're unboxing, when you get to the heat tape, there's a zip cord, a zip tie here. Keep that, don't cut it. You're actually going to need it later. So hold on to it, don't tighten it, let it just stay loose and just work it off the cord. And then this is what each one of the shelves looks like. Got here, see there's the recess area for the heat tape, and then a slot for the probe if that's where you decide to put the probe. Now here I have lined up the 2 sides in the back. As you can see, they're marked, so you can make sure the left side and the left side and the right side and the right side are together. And then note the alignment tabs here, and then the slot that it goes into. So you'll note here on the top it recesses in just a little bit, and so we just made sure it did that. So in the bag it does come with its own bit for the screws, and there you can see one of the pre-drilled holes. So we're going to go ahead and start screwing the first side to the back. So my husband has the torque on the lowest setting, but he said he's still having a little bit of trouble with it wanting to go too far in. So definitely something to be careful with. And here you can see we accidentally screwed it in too far. So in the instructions when it says not to over screw it, it doesn't take much to do that. Alright, so now we slide the bottom panel in to the sides and the back that we've assembled, and it's easy to identify which one is the bottom because of all of the shells. It's the one with the slots for the casters. So these circles right here let you know that this is the one for the bottom. So, and of course the heat tape's going to be in the back, so it's easy to orient which side should go in first. sliding fairly easy. Okay, so you'll note that there's grooves, and so this is going to slide into the back groove. So it does stick out a little in the front, but you can see this gap here means we haven't gotten it far enough in yet. Yep, there it goes. Alright, if you're going to put casters on your rack, while you're assembling, it's a good time. The instructions are set up so you can always buy casters after the fact and put them in, so it has you unscrew and redo. So we're going to do it as we go. And so you can see that the casters actually have feet on them, so to speak, and that's going to grab that bottom edge. So you know you've got them the right direction because they're going to grab that bottom edge, but they're going to go this way. And they'll slide into the hole, and there's a groove here and here for the top and the bottom. So there you go. And then those are going to take a longer screw, so we'll remember when we get to those screws to use a longer screw. So some of the brackets here for the casters are not very flush. Now they're flattening out a little bit as we tighten them in, but because they're not flush, these holes are not lining up exactly with the pre-drilled holes. So what we found that's working really well is to just make sure we don't tighten both screws down all the way as we're installing it, and then we just slide this up and down a little bit in the slot just to make sure that it's where we need it to be before we tighten it all the way in. Here you can see we've started the first screw. We saw where it went through the hole on the top part of the caster. We adjusted a little bit, moved this up and down until we got this one to line up just perfect. So there you can see here and here we've got them to line up in the hole. So you just may have to wiggle it up and down just a little bit to get it to line up. And that's what we found it helpful to just lay it on its back and make sure the shelf was all the way in that back slot. We were having to get in a little trouble getting it to go into the slot when we had it upright. So here we have all 4 caster holders in place, and we have yet to put the shelves in. And this is just so that we don't have to do it after the fact and back screws out, put them in, and do it that way. Now we're not putting the wheels in yet because we want to be able to set this upright and be able to do more work on it, and we don't want it rolling around. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next shelf, again making sure that the heat tape slot is facing towards the top and the back. And we'll just go ahead and do the next couple of shelves. Now as you're pulling them out of the box, don't worry if the shelf looks really warped. Once you slide it in, it will not matter. What I want to point out is there's pre-drilled holes on the sides and the back, but not on the shelves. So you're actually making the hole itself on this. It's very easy. It's not much resistance at all. As a matter of fact, if you're not careful, you could just drive your screw all the way through because this is very soft. So what we've opted to do here is to go ahead and instead of doing one shelf at a time, we slid all the shelves in except the top. You do not want to install the top yet. And this way we can just go down and screw all of one side, then all of the other side, and then all of the back, instead of flipping it around to do each side one shelf at a time. Now do note as we're sliding some of these in, they want to pop loose. As you come down to the opening where your heat tape's going to go, sometimes as you're sliding it, you can see actually it's just suspended here because it's popping out of the slot just a little bit when it hits those bits. And then when you get it to the bottom, just make sure that it's actually in the slot in the back. We've had to move some of them just a little bit to make sure that they're in that slot. Alright, so now that we've assembled the shelves, all but the top, we are going to install the heat tape. So we discovered a problem with the instructions in that the plug will not actually fit through this slot. So I'm guessing when the instructions were written, they were using a smaller plug. So we are going to improvise. It is really important you start on side A as you're threading the heat tape through, because there are only 5 slots on this side and there are 6 on this side. So if you want to be able to get to the very bottom, you've got to start on this side and not this side. So when you first start threading it through, like I said, the plug's not going to fit through this slot, so you're going to actually have to start on this side. But you're actually going to want to go ahead and feed some out and then back in. And here's why. Here's what happens when you try to just go straight into that slot. It's just impossible to get an angle so you can get it in there. But if you'll feed some out, you don't have to feed much out, and then just coil it straight back in, you can feed it right into the slot. So as we come to the end, it doesn't want to go through the slot, and so it's been a little bit hard to pop it up. So what we're going to do is start using a butter knife, and as we slide to, we'll just be able to, there you go. You do want to pull the heat tape up just a little bit so that this electric tape is actually on the sidewall, and then the tape is here on the bottom. Once you have the tape through, and just note it's the top, the rest of the tape's hanging out the side, you then thread the plug out this hole and slide it down here, and now we've made sense of the zip tie. And what you're going to do is make a loop in this right here in front of this entrance, so that if someone yanks on this cord on the back side, they don't pull on the tape. And there is your finished product. Just a little loop and the zip tie. And the zip tie, by the way, was wrapped around the cord itself and just wasn't pulled tight. So don't cut that zip tie and don't pull it tight before you get to the part where you put it on this cord. You don't need to worry about the loop interfering with the tub, because of course the tub is angled a little bit, so there's some room here in the back for the tub to slide in despite having a loop here. Alright, so as you get ready to do the next shelf of heat tape, what you don't want to do is come over here and pop it in this opening. Let me zoom out a little bit so that you've got it like this. What you're actually going to do is feed it back through here and down. You're going to go ahead and pull it all through, and then you actually go back in, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to feed it. So really the only way you can get it to go into that slot is to go ahead and pull all the excess out first. Alright. He's going to pull it all the way till it's tight. Now he's going to thread it again back in and into the groove. So there should be no tape really sticking out on the side here at all. You can see in and see some tape, but it's not sticking out. So here we are feeding another side. So you're going back in, but you're going down. There's a slot that allows it to go down. When you come out the hole underneath, and then just go ahead and pull it all the way through. And now you go back in. So right underneath where you just came out, you'll go back in. And that's, otherwise you're trying to double back and get into that slot. And it's just hard to work. It's better just to feed it all out first, and then you can put it back in. Alright, so in the box was a strip of tape that you're going to use to cover the quart here. And this is just to kind of keep it against the side and for flipping down and interfering with your tub sliding in or out. Since I have the top off, I want to show how the probe goes on. Normally I would never put the probe on the top shelf because the heat is going to be uneven. You remember, hot air rises, so as you go up the rack they get warmer, and the coldest racks are the ones at the bottom. That's where your tubs are going to be the coolest. So I like the middle or just below the middle, and then I always come back and check all my temperatures with a heat gun, a temperature gun, just to make sure that they're all within the range. You'll note that the back has a bunch of holes in it, so you can just pick which hole you want. Like I said, I'm going to demonstrate using the top, but you would, like I said, put it towards the middle or the bottom, but just thread it through, and then you'll note there are grooves here. You'll put it in the groove, and you want just the tip of the probe on the heat tape, and then you're going to tape this down with some aluminum tape just to make sure it doesn't pop up. And you do not want to put the aluminum tape actually on the tip of the probe, so you're going to come back here, somewhere in here, and cover. Alright, once the heat tape is in and you've got it taped, you install the top. And it's easy to tell which side is the top because it's the one with the writing on it. And we'll just slide it in, and we'll repeat the process of screwing it in. Alright, and there you are. We stacked 2 of the units, and I've got some more coming in, so I'll be stacking that one as well. That to the right there is my incubator. So far I've worked with them for a week now. It's not very long, I know. But compared to my other racks, what I can tell you is they slide really nice. My Vision racks in particular, you know, if you don't get the shelving exactly right, a lot of times they just don't slide in smooth and it spills the water. And even though a lot of my water now has been switched to deli containers with a hole in the middle so it doesn't slosh as much, I still get some sloshing, and I just have a couple of them that it doesn't, I have to have just the right tub to put in that particular slot because it's a little higher or a little lower. And so I wanted something that was just a little more standard, and I can tell you so far that VE-6 has done that for me. I really like that I don't have to worry about, you know, if I got the right tub for the right slot, and they're sliding in so smooth that I've not had any problems with the water. The only problem I can say I've had with them at all is that, boy, there's no ventilation, so I may go back and put some holes in them. So when the snakes do poop, it gets pretty toasty smelly in there very quickly. So that would be probably the only thing I would say negative about it so far. Is I wish it did have more ventilation. If maybe they put some holes along the sides or the edges or something. But that's all I can say so far. I love how the heat tape fits in. I love how the probe is in there. I don't have to worry about the probe coming loose. And I do go around regularly and check my racks with my heat gun to make sure the temps are correct. But I have not had to worry at all that maybe the probes come loose on the VE racks. So that's great. I love that feature. I did get the thermostats that VE sells as well, and so far I really like the thermostats. They were super easy to figure out and super easy to set. So all in all, like them. The casters, a little bit concerned that the stopper on it's plastic, so I'm a little bit concerned about that long term, but so far not having any problems. They're easy to engage, easy to unlock, And so they look like they're going to be okay. And the wheels themselves are really sturdy, so I think they'll do well as little as I move my racks around. See ya.